Game of the Year. I haven't played every single game on this list. I haven't played Super Mario Wonder and I also haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but I do plan on playing Baldur's Gate 3 next month. For now, I can't consider it yet. But the 4 remaining games I did finish. I love Spider-Man 2 and I love Zelda. But the 2 horror titles are definitely my favorites. Alan Wake 2 was the most creative and unique game I played. It has a really interesting story and it's also the scariest game I played. But Resident Evil 4 was the most fun to play through. It has my favorite combat system out of any game this year. It's honestly an incredible game. It's one of my favorite horror games of all time. So I'll pick Resident Evil as my game of the year for now. But maybe after playing Baldur's Gate 3 in December, that could change. Best Narrative. For this one I'll have to pick Alan Wake 2. As a huge fan of strange and surreal horror, this one is right up my alley. It's creative and it's really interesting. It's like playing through one big fever dream, which is what all the best horror stories feel like. As much as I love Final Fantasy, I definitely don't play a Final Fantasy game for its story. I think Final Fantasy stories aren't that special. Same for Spider-Man 2. Felt just like any other superhero story. I heard good things about Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, but I haven't played it yet, so Alan Wake 2 is definitely my pick for this category. Best Art Direction. I have to pick Zelda for this one. Despite being on the Switch and having therefore less graphical quality than Final Fantasy or Alan Wake for example, it does have that top-notch art direction that all other Zelda games have as well. Hyrule looks as good as ever. It's a beautiful world to explore. I'll definitely give this one to Zelda. Best Music. Alan Wake 2 had some really great music. Also that musical section was completely nuts. But this list has both a Final Fantasy game and a Zelda game on it. And I consider these 2 franchises to have the best music in all of video games. However, while I think both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have good music, it doesn't quite reach the same heights as some of the other Zelda games. Final Fantasy XVI music on the other hand is as incredible as ever, from the exploration themes to the mind-blowing battle music. It's all absolutely incredible. Masayoshi Soken is a legend. I'll definitely give this one to Final Fantasy XVI. Best Audio Design. For this one, I'll pick Dead Space. If it weren't for the audio in the game wouldn't have been half as scary as it ended up being. Yeah, Dead Space is definitely the winner here. Best Performance. There were so many great performances this year. Yuri Lowenthal, a legend in the industry, did a really amazing job at Peter Parker, especially the symbiote corrupted version. Was very convincing and it's just an amazing effort all around. I also heard a lot of good things about Neil Newbon's character being great in Baldur's Gate 3. Can't wait to play the game in December. Melanie Libbert did an amazing job as Saga and Alan Wake as well, but in the end I'll have to give my vote to Ben Starr for Final Fantasy XVI. He did an unbelievable job with the character. In certain dramatic scenes, his voice acting was so convincing it actually gave me goosebumps. Unbelievable work. So yes, definitely Final Fantasy XVI for this one. Innovation in accessibility. A topic I don't pay too much attention to when playing, but I know how important it is. I always read about how the many PlayStation studios all do an amazing job on making their games as accessible as possible, constantly pushing boundaries on that front, so I'll give my vote to Spider-Man 2. Insomniac deserves this one. Games for Impact. Unfortunately, I haven't really played any of these. I'm sure there are some gems in here, but I'm too much of a normie to try any of these out. I play too much of the mainstream games. Can't really vote in this category. Next up, Best Ongoing Game. I love Final Fantasy. I'm a huge Final Fantasy nerd, and Final Fantasy XIV is the game where I have the most hours played in out of all video games ever. I love the developers, I love the music, the fights and the story. It's the only multiplayer game I really care about, so I'll give this vote to Final Fantasy XIV. Best Indie Game. I'm a little bit disappointed with myself and how little indie games I played this year, compared to the previous years. But considering how bonkers the AAA release schedule was, I can't blame myself too much. The only indie game I played to completion is Blasphemous 2, but the game is not even on this list. Aside from that, I got Dave the Diver on my Switch recently, but I haven't played too much of that yet. It's also not really an indie game, I heard, since apparently it's more like a AA game. So I'm not voting in this category as well. Best debut game, same for this one, and actually for the next few categories I don't have anything of value to say, so I'm skipping all of them. Best action game. While I have only played 2 games on this list, Armored Core and a bit of Hi-Fi Rush, I still have to put in a vote for Armored Core. The game just deserves to win something this year. Amazing game. Best action adventure. Definitely the Resident Evil 4 remake. It had action moments, some nice exploration sections as well. What's not to love? Next up, best RPG. I have only played 2 games here, Final Fantasy 16 and Starfield. And I have to say, Final Fantasy 16 isn't really a good RPG. It's an amazing game. Hell, it's the best character action game I played all year. Sorry, Spider-Man. But the best parts about the game were RPG unrelated. When it comes to character customization, there's almost none. There's almost no crafting either or choices to be made. Hell, I wouldn't even really call this game an RPG to begin with. So I'll give this one to Starfield. While I have issues with the game, it feels kinda aged, it plays itself way too safe. The story is also pretty shit. In the end, it's still a Bethesda game though, with lots of freedom you get as a player, and that I love. I love how open their games are. All the faction questlines were really fun to play through. I laughed a lot and I just had a good time. So yeah, Starfield gets this one, since I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet. Otherwise, I think that game would have gotten this for sure. Next up, some more categories that I don't have anything of value to say, so I'm skipping them. Best adaptation. I'll give this one to The Last of Us, an amazing adaptation of an amazing game. Next up, most anticipated game. Well, I love the Yakuza series, and Hades 2 is probably gonna be amazing as well. I have to pick Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for this one. And it actually is my most anticipated game coming out next year. I hold Final Fantasy VII Remake in extremely high regard. A lot higher than most people do. Hell, I consider it to be the best game I have played in the last 3 years. Yep, I genuinely think so. I had so much fun playing through that game. So I'm insanely hyped to continue that journey next year. And the last few categories are all esport related. I know absolutely nothing about that, so I'm skipping them. And we reach the end of the voting process, and therefore also the end of the video. Thank you for watching, thank you for staying all the way till the end, I appreciate it a lot. Did you vote already? What are your picks for the different categories? Leave a comment down below, I'm always interested to talk with people about video games. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, helps the channel out a lot. So, again, thank you for watching and catch you all later.